Got it.
So Amanda, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for coming on the channel. We do not know each other. We connected from a grief support group on Facebook. So I'm sorry that we're both in there.
I know, right?
But again, it's nice to meet you. So I just wanted to start off with asking you, when did your journey start and who did it involve?
I've lost a lot of people in my life and it's been different journeys. But this one of late started July 22nd. And basically I'm gonna try to do it. It's like, do you say that long story short? That's my favorite phrase, but it really is not, because I describe everything. So basically my soulmate, the love of my life, I met when I was 15. And he was 18. And I knew I was in love with him then. But then I went to college in California. He had got stationed in the Navy in California. So we were still like doing our, I was very just kind of like whatever, meaning I wouldn't ever want to settle down with anyone. So it was when he got restationed overseas, we kind of lost ways. So I think the last picture I have, there's all these pictures now of him, was at Thanksgiving with my dad and him, because my dad was a Navy guy too. So they insta bonded. And he actually, my dad convinced him to go into the Seabees, because 22-ish, I'm 41 now. I just lost ways. He ended up, I think we messaged each other randomly, just check in sort of thing. So fast forward to about a little over a year ago around the holidays. After COVID, I live generally in Belize on an island.
Nice.
And there's no cars, there's just golf carts and bikes. And I went from California to Belize. And COVID kicked our butts because we're mainly based off of tourism, and they shut everything down. So I was desperately waiting because I couldn't even leave the country. I mean, I could have, but anyway, so I came back last year and said, you know what, I'm going to come home for Thanksgiving because I haven't been home since I was 18 for Thanksgiving, yada, yada. He randomly, Facebook is so weird. I have like 4,000 friends, but then all of a sudden you don't see half of them. And then he popped up one night and I'm like, Mike, where the heck is he at? So I messaged him, and I didn't see that he had messaged me a couple times prior. And basically we reconnected that night. It was like 1:30 in the morning. And he goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm actually at my parents' house. He goes, and you're just now telling me this? I go, I didn't know where you were at. And he goes, do you want to hang out? I go, like now? And he goes, well, yeah. I go, okay. So he literally drove over, and we sat in this car at again, now it's like 2 a.m. and it was like nothing ever passed. And then my dad comes out yelling, my nickname's Poodle, what are you doing out there? What are you doing in the car? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, I felt like, because they haven't been around, I felt like I was 16. I was like, I'll be in a minute. But my dad's all yelling, but my dad loved him, but I didn't. He was like, I don't want your dad to know it. But anyway, so after that day, because I did sneak him in. It was, I swear, we've all both felt like we were in high school again. It was really funny. And because that's where we went back to, is like when we first both fell in love with each other. Because I didn't know until later that a lot of people told me that he'd always been in love with me as well, It was on. Both of us had just, it was out of a relationship. So it was kind of like timing was that was when it was timing. So from pretty much that on, it was like we were in, I mean, he told me within the first week, he's like, I love you, I love you. I'm gonna marry you in Gatlinburg. I'm like, why Gatlinburg? He's like, I don't know. It just sounds like a cool place to get married. I was like, oh, all right. He asked my dad, which my dad was ecstatic because that was like a son. He became a son. My, I'll get into that. Became another son to my parents, and he had always been away. So, I ended up staying. I had to fly back for work to Belize because I didn't plan that to happen.
Right.
And then it, like I said, we spent 24/7 together. So then I had to fly back for with a client. I do real estate. I do work for Century 21. And I just didn't want to leave because he ended up flying me back to surprise, like 2.5 weeks later to surprise my mom for her birthday. So I flew back, and then again, I was here for several weeks or whatever. And then I had to fly back again to Belize because of work. But yeah, we talked, I mean, FaceTime basically from the point where we'd sleep together, like put the phone on and sleep. So I, he had issues that he didn't divulge, that he was a recovering drug addict. So in the time that I didn't know him, he got addicted to meth, which is very popular. Apparently, I'm finding out here in the Midwest. And he was going into recovery, like he had a lot of stuff going on, but he didn't tell me all of that till later, which I said, I don't care. I love you. Like, I'll be there for you, you know?
Right.
And came out of an abusive relationship. So I was like, we all have things. And I flew back. What happened was he was good. Then his druggy friends told him, oh, hey, you should try spice because can't test for that when you have to do a P test because he was on probation.
I
He
don't
was
know what
doing
that
great.
is.
It's synthetic weed, but they can't but it's laced. It's horrible. I Googled it and sent it to him. So when I left, he went like, it was like when I wasn't around, it was like he lost himself again. And that was the hardest part for me because we had said we have 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. This has happened. We both were like, this is like a freight train, it's amazing. And my parents even were like, you're the happiest I've ever seen you. I was like, because I am.
Yeah.
We both were just like, I mean, I laughed. I mean, he said his purpose in life, he figured out, was make sure I laughed every day or smiled, to make sure, he said, I love you as many times as possible. But we had an argument. I love you more, and to marry me. But the main thing was to make sure I laughed every day. But so I think that ultimately I personally feel like I didn't get back in time, because I flew back July. I was gone for 3 months. I went on a road trip with my parents to Gatlinburg, of all places, and to scope out places to get married. And then that we got back on the 16th, and he was actually living in his car, and he would not let me tell anyone because, again, he was a veteran. He was in VA housing because he had had a surgery, but they kicked him out, and he just was too prideful, and he was waiting for me to come back and help look for places. So the 16th, then I knew he was bad, and then he passed on the 22nd. But 4 days before he passed, he broke down because he was not a crier. And and we were up to like 5 in the morning because he was like, I can't do this to my body, this and that, you know. And he's like, he always said, you're gonna leave me. I was like, I'm not leaving you. I just got you back, you know. We'll get through this. But I'm disappointed. You know, you have two sons, you have me, you have, you know, my family adores you, like, you know, your family. So the 22nd in the morning, uh, he had his normal court date, which was on the Thursday, and he let me finally the night before take control, because I said, if you have to go to jail for breaking, I'm telling your probation officer and your counselor because you need help. And he knew it, and he gave me, I said, this is what, if you want, you say we're going to spend the rest of our lives together, grow old together, have a life. I go, I love you enough to make this, you know, you got to do this. And we were supposed to leave at noon. And that morning, we woke up, my mom had left. I don't know if I can even say this on camera though. We had a morning. And then he looked at me and said, I love you so much, baby. And then he goes, my head hurts, something's not right. And then, like, literally right here, he laid down and I grabbed the fan and then a towel, and he died next to me. He went into a seizure. We don't know if it was a I think my dad's cardiologist thinks it was a heart attack, but he went into like the seizure. I thought he was a jokester. I thought he was messing with me at first, honestly. And I smacked him. I don't know how many times. I was like, what are you doing? And then, yeah, he died right next to me. And I had his pulse. I pulled out some Grey's Anatomy stuff. I had no idea what I was in. And I even got his pants on him. I was like, and I had to drag him off my bed and try to do CPR. And they worked on him, you know, by the time everyone got here, like for 45 minutes. But yeah, we don't know what happened. But I mean, for me, as traumatizing as it is, because he had the same birth date as my brother who died.
Oh, wow.
And he was one of the only guys that ever met my brother before he died, because I was only 16. And he was probably the only guys that had been to my brother, like at my brother's house. And yeah, they had the same birthday. So I always knew I could never forget his birthday, obviously. So, and my brother passed away from AIDS. And so I started doing AIDS work when I was 14. And I used to help AIDS patients in hospice. And I then through when I in LA, till probably when I was 24, when I started traveling after that. So I used to help AIDS patient or like hospice patients. But yeah, it's just, I think it's the hard part of, I feel like I didn't have enough time. But I know, I think his body just, because he didn't do anything. He wasn't on anything that morning. We had just, you know,
Yeah.
and his body just, it was cliche his time. So it
I'm
sucks
so
because
sorry.
I was gonna change my entire life again. Like we had plans.
Yeah.
And I really believed for once I was happy after a very long time of being with someone who, again, did make me happy, because I'm a happy person. And the thing with Mike, he was just like me. You know, we weren't jealous. Like we would go anywhere. That's why it's like I walk in anywhere and people know who I am just because I'm friendly and I'm nice. And so I know what my purpose was in his life, because the solace I have is
Oh, hold
he
on one
died with
second.
me.
Hold on one sec.
Okay. All right. No, but I was saying the
Yeah.
only the solace that I have is that say I was in Belize, or say I I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of scenarios, but he died, the last thing he saw was me.
Yeah.
And the last words he said was, I love you. Besides the head thing, but like, it just sucks for me, because then I'm the one uh left behind, and then I ended up in the emergency room twice. The day after I collapsed, I thought I had a stroke. I mean, they nearly arrested me when they were here, because I kept telling them just to like let me hold his hand. And I know I this is not my first rodeo of like people passing. It's just I kind of have an energy healing thing. And I had just worked the night before he died. I was doing massaging his legs because he got restless leg stuff. And yeah, it's just crazy, because you think like, I have good days and then I have bad days.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like with my brother, my grandma, my best friend, I mean, and then what sucks, like one of my childhood friends 2 weeks later, who we were supposed to have lunch, because she messaged me, because all these people found out and started messaging me. She ended up uh dying. And so I was like, she they don't know what really happened. She drowned in her bathtub. Yeah. And it was 3 weeks after him. And I was supposed to see her like 2 days later. We had agreed to have lunch and stuff. And she was messaging me to console me, but just crazy, because then I let basically myself, I wasn't eating. Um, I was self-medicating by drinking wine and vodka. Like, I basically I didn't take care of myself. So then my health got bad. So
Right.
it just all was like a spiral. Then it's that thing, or the only thing, well, one of the positive things was, I knew his mom, but we weren't like, they weren't even around really, because they moved to Florida. And but her and I became like besties.
Oh.
We she's like a tough cookie. She had 5 boys, and the thing that both of us are grateful for is that we had each other. So her and we're like extremely bonded, because we both had no judgment. We both I would spend the night with her, and we would stay up crying and laughing and telling stories, and it was okay, where
Yeah.
a lot of people don't, they get uncomfortable talking, or they get uncomfortable if you talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's because it's just, they don't know what to say when you just go, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that. And so that's what's the hardest part, is that you don't want to put that on your family, your friends, because you know that they don't know the right answer. And there is no right answer.
No.
That's the crazy part. There is no right answer. It's just, the best answer is to just listen. And if you get annoyed hearing the broken record, well then, sorry.
I think I said that to you. I said find people who hear your story like you're just telling it for the first time.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that you need.
Yeah. Because it's the people that you need, that like when you need to talk. And that's when I was telling the therapist, it took me forever to even get healthcare system here. And I said, my problems go from here down, because the main one I need is to talk to someone. And you all make it so difficult for that to happen. So, because I know I'm equally giving, but I'm equally intense. And then when you don't feel like you have someone to talk to, I think that's the worst about grieving, because there's no, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer, there's no time. And then the people that think that I need to start moving on, or that he would want, and I go, like I said, I lost, I've gone through a lot of loss. So yeah, there is a time limit. Not really. No, you never stop missing that person. This was, like I said, I couldn't save him. This was supposed to be the man I was going to grow 90 with, that I finally, so it's a little different, versus when it's not, it's only different because when it's sudden, it's hard. I feel like it's like smacking you with the Mack truck in the face, versus when someone's going to pass away and you're waiting. That's even worse for you than you just like, I just want them out of pain. But you get to say your goodbyes. You get to say the things, even if you don't think they're hearing you, they hear you, So that's like like I said, this has been a whole new, because I lost friends in high school and car accidents and stuff like that. But watching someone in front of you pass away, when you feel completely helpless.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem real. It seems like, because we're so about movies and all of that it just doesn't seem real. So the process has been long, because I wasn't planning to be here. Everyone back in Belize is like, what, like, my job, everyone, I said I needed to be with my family, because they're the ones, like my parents, that not only do they need me, because they had lost a son, basically. Like when I wasn't here, he did everything for them. He fixed about 25 things in this house that needed fixing for 20 years in like a month.
Yeah.
He was here when I wasn't here, and my dad and him would fall asleep watching TV downstairs. So they're mourning too, but it's just interesting, sometimes, like I said, I think it's all the whys. Like, I will cherish, obviously, because I know a lot of people probably won't, or not a lot, but some people will never experience that sort of love. And I know it.
Yeah.
And so if I had 8 months of happiness out of my life, then unfortunate.
Yeah.
So
I am so sorry.
thank you. And like I said, that's why the groups that I joined was because I feel like reading other people's stories makes me feel a little bit better. Meaning, my sympathy for other people, realizing that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And how I feel, or the frustration, or when I get angry. I know there's the whole, stages of grief, because that was one of the classes I had in college, was a death and dying class. And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, but it's makes me feel a little bit better that I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
What the feeling the way I do some days.
And that's part of the reason why I want to start this channel, because like you, I've dealt with grief prior. My grandparents, my cousin, who was like one of my best friends, he passed away at age 20, and that hit me really hard. We were 5 months apart.
Oh, wow.
August 30th, my best friend died, and then 3 days later my sister died.
Yeah.
So and it was hard to talk about it because people just didn't understand.
They didn't know what to say to you.
They didn't know what to say to me. And, luckily I had some amazing friends who were just said, if you want to talk, I'll listen. If you don't want to talk, I'll sit right next to you. And, I think that's just so hard for some people to understand, that you don't need to say something. You don't need, because there's just nothing you're going to say that's going to make the situation better. It's not going to bring them back. Yeah. And I want to start this because I want people to know that they're not, we're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And exactly like you said, you can say things and people understand.
Yeah.
Like in the support groups, you'd be like, today was a horrible day, whatever you want to say. And they're like, I completely understand what you're saying. And unless you've been through it, like you really don't.
No. And that's the thing, the hardest is, I think I saw someone posted once on there that, if if you don't understand, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
On one level, because it's and this is a learning experience for me, because again, I've been through a lot, and that's why I was like, you've got to be effing kidding me. Can I just get a break?
Yeah.
Like, I nearly died from anorexia. I have like survived an almost near fatal car accident, like where I should have died. Like, there's so many things that have happened in my life, like I said, but that abuse, all of these things that I'm like, I had just gotten, like, I just wanted to be happy. And I do a lot to, like I said, I care about a lot of people, and I try to, and I'm one of those people that do a lot for other people. But this is where I was like, finally, I've got it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is good. I'm finally can just take 2 steps back, because I look at, and I know Facebook is one of those, it's deceiving. That's why I barely put anything on there, because I didn't want anyone to know a lot of things personally about our relationship, because of our exes. And so, there was just a lot of things that I was like, no one needs to know. The people that knew,
Yeah.
our families, everything, like. And so I think it was a shock to a lot of people when it happened, but the people that knew were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because they knew, again, it was like, it was big. So, and that's what's hard, is that you don't want, and then you feel guilty feeling anything, because I don't want to stress out my mom and dad. They're dealing with it enough. We've had a lot of, like, I don't know who to go to, that I can just be like, like, I'm having a great day, I'm laughing, I'm watching videos of us laughing, or I'm like angry because this sucks.
Yeah.
This sucks. Like, what am I supposed to do now? We had it all planned out, and I know that's how life is. Like, it can change in a second, but I thought for once I actually had it figured out.
Yeah.
So, and that's what, like, I just tell people, and I've told this for a long time. I was like, tell people you love them when you have the chance. Don't do it after they're gone,
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. I look back, there was a lot of signs that I think he knew. My favorite is that he was always astutely aware of things I liked. First time he ever screwed up, like being late, he showed up with 3 bottles of wine and a pair of socks. The wine, yes. I was like, why socks? He goes, I don't know. They just sounded fun. So then we had a thing with socks after that. So then
That's
it became
cute.
a thing where you buy each other socks. Also, there's a DJ that we were going to have at our wedding that's sort of borderline offensive to some people, but not. He's really funny. So now everyone buys me llama things, because he wears a llama robe anyway. It's so funny, because there's so many things that now are related to my life. But the fact that, again, like I said, I got out of a marriage that I don't know how anyone would have survived what I went through, but I did. And I'm grateful. But it was the fact that we were walking through Rural King of all places, and I have very eclectic sort of like jewelry, and
Yeah. So
love
I think you have like a cool vibe to you.
I know, I'm a total. That's why I said I'll put on. He used to love to watch me go into Walmart in my pajamas, but my high heel boots, like, and whatever, and just watch people look at me, and I'm like, that's just like always how I've been. But I love my like jewelry, and my fingers, my hands specifically, the jewelry I wear are different meanings. Like, My brother that passed away, his wedding band is on there. My grandma, she made this when she was 15.
Wow.
My wedding band, but my dad bought me that ring. He has, and my mom bought me that one. My dad bought me that one. But he bought me 2 rings. One is a crappy one, but it's an infinity sign, and it makes more meaning now
Yeah.
than I that then. But he saw me looking at this ring that's like, I'll show it to you. It's awesome. Oop, it's like feathers.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty.
Yeah, but it's so me. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like a random. He saw me looking at this, and then we left, and then he wouldn't go to the movies. And I was mad because that's my parents, their date thing. We go to the movies when I'm here.
Oh.
And he was like, no, you have to call me whenever I need you to, it's very important that you let me know when you're coming home because I want to meet you there. All this stuff. So he shows up again with wine because that's basically how you're going to win me over with anything. And then gave me the box. And I was like, what is this? And then I opened it up, and I've never been more like happy. It was that, like, he went and did it because he saw me looking at it out on his own. And that's what real love is. And that's what real, like, someone that actually pays attention to the small things,
Yeah.
and that's what I probably miss the most, is having someone around that'll like scrub my back in the shower or, like he would put me in timeout when I was being annoying or something. He'd go, okay, you're getting time. And so I'd go sing Adele just to drive him nuts.
That's
I'd go in
funny.
the bathroom and sing Adele. This is like how hilarious we until he'd give you like 5 more minutes. It was a joke, but then I was like, oh, because for whatever reason he did not like Adele, but he would sing Adele to me, which try to make me laugh. He would sing it, hello. Are you there? I was like, oh, stop. But yeah, that's the worst part is I miss like
You just miss
the
him.
laugh. I miss laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's, I've lived on my own for a long time, and then I was still pretty much alone when I was married, like through that relationship. So now it's like, this is, I'm bored because I can't text. I still text him. Right after he passed, my phone started going nuts and would text me and pull up
His phone would
pictures of us.
text you?
My phone would text me. It was crazy, and no one believed me until I showed it. When it started doing it, it would just start like, I can't do it because of my iPhone, cycling. And then it would bring up pictures of us or of him and zoom in. Then it would text me things. It would say, hi, 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 hun. Yeah. I have him screenshotted because no one believed me.
That's him talking to you.
No, he was, and I knew it. And then it went on for about 2 months. It would just start doing it.
Wow.
And I would talk to him and say, okay, stop. I actually have to look at something. Stop, because it would text, I'm here. Like different things. And people
You're
didn't
giving
believe
me
me.
chills.
People didn't believe me until they witnessed it. And I said, watch, I'm not touching my phone. And look, it's texting. And there were like a lot of it was, and then it went away. I think the weekend after I got to spend with his boys and his mom, and I took them to their soccer game, it stopped. And then I didn't really feel him anymore. And then, but that was okay. He knew that we were like the 4 people that he needed to know we were going to be okay. Well, at least that's what I thought. And all 4 of us together. And then I was sad because I was like, I kind of missed it. I really missed it. Then the day before my birthday in October, it started again. And it was texting me again. And a lot of it's kind of gibberish sort of stuff, but it'll say it like I said, it's high. It's always high, 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 and all this. And it's like I said, it's been I'm here, I'm there. There's a lot of that, but it did it for my birthday, and then it stopped again.
Wow.
It stopped the day after my birthday, and then people are like, "Oh, your phone's act." I said, "Why? You cannot explain that."
No, you can't. It was him.
No, it was him, and then yeah. So it and I just didn't want anyone to think I was like crazy because I showed them my phone. I would just put it down and go, look what it's doing. And we're talking, it would pull up pictures. I have 17,000 pictures in my, it would pull up pictures specifically of us or him or zoom in. And to him or, so I knew that.
That's
So that's what
awesome.
I was gonna ask you before if you had ever had any experiences with getting messages from the ones that
I
you lost after they passed.
I personally haven't gotten any yet. My one of my sisters has. She was in her car. Her and my mom were in the car driving to the cemetery to visit my sister, and my sister's car radio hasn't worked in like 2 years, and they're on their way, and all of a sudden just turned on, and it was playing a country station, and my sisters and I, we like our country music. And on the way back, it was still on. My sister came home, she left again, and the radio was on, still stayed on, and it was playing the song My Wish by Rascal Flatts. And then that was the song that my sister Susie had dedicated to the siblings. And it played the whole song, and my sister came back home, and the next time her car radio wouldn't turn on back on again.
And it hasn't turned on since.
It hasn't turned on since.
No, I was reading a thing that because of electronics nowadays, that when they've newly passed, and that's it, that they have a lot more like energy to do things before whatever happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why I said there were so many things that our TVs weren't working, really, things were stopping, but my phone was the craziest. And when my brother passed, we came home. I didn't see it, but my parents came home after because we had to take him off life support. I went with a friend to go on a hike. But when my parents came home in my mom's room, there was a rainbow of white light. It looked like a rainbow, but it was a circle of white light on the wall.
Oh, wow.
And we have a picture of it somewhere, but they both knew that was him because my dad said, I need you to give me a sign, sort of thing,
Yeah.
And I was upset because I was really close to him, even though he was like 13 years older than me. But it was 2 days later, I was in the bathroom in the same room and came out. When I went in, that wasn't there. When I came out, it was on the wall again.
Wow.
And it stayed for about 30 minutes, and then it's never been back since. But it was the exact same, just a rainbow of a circle of white light on the wall.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I had said same thing. I just recently, my friend bought me a psychic reading, which was interesting. And so accurate. This woman didn't even know my name. So when people doubt stuff like that, my grandma had a lot to say. My grandma and I were like kindred souls. Let's just put it that way.
Aww.
But him and my grandma and we lost another family member on the from COVID. But she was the godmother to my nieces and nephews. So I've known her since I was 10. But she came through because she was buried the same day. It was 6 months that he passed. And this is what I was gonna. So this is a picture. You see it?
Yeah.
So this one is when I was 15 and we first met.
Oh.
And then this one is 4 days before he died.
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful.
What's funny is he's literally standing this exact same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was funny when I don't know how I found a lot of this stuff. I mean, I found a lot of it when he was alive, but yeah. Anywho, I think the biggest thing is for people to have like kindness. And again, I think listening,
Yeah.
even if you fall asleep listening, like when needs to talk, they need to talk.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing to get to help grieve
Well,
is
I'm
being
here if you
talk.
ever want to talk.
Good. I appreciate it. And I think what you're doing is great
Thank
because
you.
I think, like I said, I took a whole course in death and dying and read all these, but like when I was in college, and I did a whole thesis paper with my aid patients, you know. And what's crazy is that most of them were not scared of dying; they were scared of not being remembered.
It's sad.
So yeah, so that's why I think the more you still talk about the ones that are gone, and I bedazzle the grave, which that's what I was.
That's what you're doing.
I bedazzle. I had put yes, and so it makes me happy when I can do that, you know. So, and again, I'm really sorry that you lost so many people because yeah, it happened to me when I was between 15 to 18. I lost like a lot.
Yeah.
My best friend's grave is actually like almost, I mean, I can see hers from his now. Like they're like
Yeah.
in line. So it's nice. So I go and see her and chat with her and then go to his. But I know you probably have to get off here now, don't you?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but thank you again for it was so wonderful chatting with you.
Yes,
We'll be in touch. I would love to like keep talking to you.
absolutely. I really, like I said, I really appreciate like what you're doing, and I think it's a good thing.
Thank you.
And I think that again, the more people tell their stories, the more that we understand that we are connected as human beings
Yeah.
by our heart.
Well, you
So
have a good rest of your day,
thank you.
and we'll talk soon.
Okay,
All right. Bye.
bye. You're gonna have to do it. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.